Okay, so we are in 3.2, ready, set, go. And I'm going to do 11 through 13 is what someone had asked. And then so there's a little bit of verbiage here that's a little bit weird that I want to make sure that everybody's a little bit comfortable on as well. So there's no real directions here. It just says, just start doing this problem. So number 3, for 11, it says use the grid. Maybe I should make this a tad bigger so you guys can see. So it says use the grid to graph f of x equals x, g of x equals x cubed, and h of x equals x to the 5th on the interval from -1 to 1. So I'm going to do that here with Desmos because that's my favorite. And if you've never done intervals, I always have to like kind of remember first. So they basically want x cubed, and x to the 5th. So I'm going to go x cubed, and then x to the 5th. Okay, but they only want it from the interval from -1 to 1. So they literally want from here to here. So I think it's this. I could be wrong. No. Maybe it's this. Ah, yeah, there it goes. So it's basically this. It's like kind of interesting notation here. So I'm just going to put that on each one and notice it's right there. So I'm going to blow this up so we can see it a little bit more clearly. Put it right here so I can snip this and put it on our page. So from here to here, and then that way I can get the colors of them as well. All right, thank you, Desmos. Put it right here. So I just snipped it because it's easier for me to talk about it like this. So I'm just going to put it right on top. Okay, so I graphed it, done. Ms. Johnson, if we had to graph it on our own, would we be able to do that? Yeah, you would just start plugging in points using a table. And then now it says fill in the blanks with f of x, g of x, or h of x to make the statement true. And I'm going to drag this down here so I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth. Okay, so it says on the interval from 0 to 1, so from here to here, and it told you to fill in the blanks with f of x, g of x, or h of x. In this case, it would be, let's see, x is, so this is just x, g, and h. Okay. So this is in order. So F, G, H, okay. So from here to here, who is the tallest? That's all they're asking you. This is blank is less than blank, which is less than blank. So they want to know who is the tallest and put them over here. Who is the shortest? Put them over here. Who is the medium? Put them over here. This is kind of like, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. This is too hard. This is too soft. This is just right. Okay, so it's kind of like this, right? So from the interval from 0 to 1, who was the tallest? Who won? And you're like, oh, Ms. Johnson, this purpley color did. And I'm like, oh, the x function. So that's just f of x. So over here, I'm going to put f of x. I got to scroll my iPad real quick. So I put f of x over here, right? And then it says, okay, well, who is the shortest in this interval? And you're like, oh, the red guy. And you're like, you're right. It's the red guy, which is h of x. So he's the shortest. So he belongs all the way to the left because it's from shortest to tallest. And then that means g of x just goes in the middle. Okay. Same thing goes here on the interval from 1 to infinity. So on the interval from 1 to infinity. Okay, so then I'm going to go back to my Desmos and I'm going to ignore all of these because I don't need restrictions anymore. From 1 to infinity is now all the way to the right of 1 and beyond. So I'm just going to ignore all this. I'm going to imagine this. So it's asking you who is the tallest, and you're like the red guy, Miss Johnson. If you take a like a slice right here, right? This, you can see that red wins, then black, then blue. So red, then black, then blue. So that h of x is the tallest. So he belongs to the right because he's the greatest, right? And then g of x, and then f of x. And you're like, Miss Johnson, what happened? Why did they switch? Well, again, we talked about this in class, right? So something funny happens from 0 to 1 with fractions and multiplying. When you multiply a fraction by a fraction, and both of those fractions are smaller than 1, right? Between 0 and 1, that number gets smaller. But if you multiply 2 versus 2 times 2 times 2, which is the black function, versus 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which would be the red function all the way at the top, it's not even there, right? So this is just having you compare this is asking who's the tallest, right? What's the y value? Who's the biggest y value in each of these kind of like intervals? All right.